to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Thanks for being with us. I'm glad to be with you. It looks like it's going to be a fine Monday morning, although very cold and crisp to begin the day. So thanks for being with us again. CKLU 96.7 FM or CKLU.ca. You can listen to us online, CKLU.ca. Just hit the Radio Player Canada app and it will stream. Or you can download it and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. And not only take this show with you wherever you go, but also other great CKLU programming brought to you by the great volunteers in this wonderful community of ours. So thanks for being with us again. Make sure to, on social media, if you're able to, and if you're joining us online via Facebook or YouTube, make sure to like and share the channels and the pages and all that stuff, just because it does get the word out. And thanks to the Facebook monitors as well and the YouTube monitors for doing your job. We appreciate it. We know you have a job to do. And we also appreciate the platforms. And you can reach us at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News, and soon to come, well, we already have all the other social medias. It's just ourselves as a volunteer show. And really, there's no income coming in. There's just costs going out. It takes a lot of time, and it is a part-time thing, volunteer. It's basically run for you as a service to our great community. So that way we can be part of this conversation of things that are very important to us. And I'd like to just give a shout out because we did have comments that were ready to go. We're having an issue with our comments for some strange reason. Not sure why. It's a bit of a mystery. Thought I had it all nipped in the bud, but was not able to solve it long term for some strange reason. But I'd like to say good morning to Julia, who just came on. I'm going to do my best to share the comments this morning as they do come in, as I am here solo this morning. So yeah, it's just you and I today. And so we're going to make the most of it. We're going to make the best of it. And I think we're going to get through it because there's a lot of great things to talk about this morning. There was a mayoral debate that just took place on Saturday. A lot of great things coming out of what the candidates believe in and what they're standing for and what they want to do when they're elected or reelected. And so we're going to dive into that. There are some issues about, Sudbury Arena, what each candidate would do specifically about that. And then there's, some of the highlights from the debate that took place on Saturday. So, and I'll also see if I can share the Zoom meeting that's been recorded and see if I can just share that on our Facebook page as well. So if you didn't get a chance to see it, you can go check it out anytime via our Facebook page. So yeah, I'll see if I can do that. But first, let's get started with a little bit of the weather. Let's see what's going on in Greater Sudbury. And if there's some things you need to know to plan your day, maybe that'll help out. So we'll be back right after this Sudbury weather. And here you go, 4 degrees currently in the greater city of Sudbury. The humidity is only 69%, but there was quite a bit of frost on my windows this morning as I got up. So it's, and it was around the 0 degree mark, according to my car thermometer or whatever, the car temperature telling me 0 degrees, but saying it's currently 4 degrees and sunny today. High of 16 eventually. UV index will be 5 or moderate. And tonight the fog patches will be developing overnight, and the low will be about +5. Tuesday, mainly sunny, fog patches dissipating in the morning. High of 20, UV index 5 or moderate. Long-term forecast, here you go. Again, Tuesday, mainly sunny, high of 20. Wednesday, mix of sun and cloud, high of 19. So we get some warmer days there. And then it looks like it's going to dip. So get ready with your furnaces and all your things you need to warm yourself up. Thursday, showers forecast, high of 12. And then it's getting really cool on Friday, showers, 30% forecast, and high of only 6. Saturday and Sunday, it's anybody's guess, but for now they're forecasting chance of, a mix of sun and cloud, high of 8 and 9. So very cool in the forecast going forward. Look at the satellite, what it looks like over us for the last little bit. And currently, see there's some clouds kind of on the west of Lake Superior there, making their way over. So we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, so there's your weather brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. That's the link that'll go right to Sudbury.news and our weather portion of that page that has just been revamped. And so it's almost ready to be basically everything it was meant to be, the Sudbury.news Facebook page, thanks to Nick and his wizardry helping us out. So thanks, Nick, for doing that. And thanks all y'all for being with us for this weather portion of the show. We'll be back with a little bit of sports. Sudbury Wolves were in action yesterday and Friday. And there's some other sports-related news we'll get to. And then all the headlines, including the election coming up. We'll be right back. So, as mentioned, sports, Sudbury Wolves in action on Sunday. And the good news is that, spoiler alert, we won the game. And it was interesting, too, because our goalie, who was acquired in a trade, just came over from the team that we beat, which is really cool. The headline, Ranger has winning return to Mississauga as Wolves stymie Steelheads. That's from Jeff Giffen of the Sudbury Star. Players will often try to downplay personal success against their former teams, but Joe Ranger, now of the Sudbury Wolves goaltender, it would have been difficult to do that on Sunday. The Wolves' new veteran goaltender stopped 41 of 43 shots at the Paramount Fine Food Center in Mississauga. Yes, a lot of arenas have sponsors that pay to have their names on the arenas, and that helps the financial viability of the sports team. In most other OHL centers, there's only a few that don't have names. That's why, in sports broadcasting like this, we're even saying the name of the corporation, right? So they get a lot of marketing out of it. Paramount Fine Food Center in Mississauga. That's not the story. But anyways, I just thought I'd mention that. And Ranger backstopped Sudbury to a 6-2 victory over the Mississauga Steelheads to improve to 1-1 on the young season. The 20-year-old from Carp, Ontario, was traded by the Steelheads to the Nickel City in the off-season for 4th-round pick after playing 55 games with the Steelheads dating back to 2018. Now, this is the thing. This young man, well, he's an overage player, but young man to me, and maybe a lot of you, he's 6'1", 191 pounds. And like I said, he's an overager in the OHL, which means he's got a lot of experience. He admits he felt a bit odd being on the other side of the rink facing his old team. He said, "It's different. It's weird to play against the guys you've been friends with for years, but it makes winning all that much better. And yeah, and we appreciate that too here in Sudbury. It's a fresh start in Sudbury where Ranger is the clear number one goalie right out of the gate. He was the winning guy. Sorry, he was the young guy for his first 2 years in Mississauga. And then his third season, as most people's seasons were canceled because of COVID-19 and split last season with veteran Roman Bazran. So anyways, yeah, so the Wolves got a new goalie this year. It looks like he's pretty solid facing his old team. 6-2 victory. Basically, Sudbury Wolves coach Craig Duncanson didn't think it was a masterpiece for his team, but thanked Ranger for helping them secure the 2 points. Yeah, the shots on goal were like 43 for the Steelheads and only 23 for the Sudbury Wolves. So anybody who knows anything about, first of all, hockey, but second of all, a good goalie, when the other team gets that many shots on you and you still end up being the winner, it shows that basically he was an integral part of winning the game for the Wolves. So looks like so far so good with goaltending here in Sudbury this year. So it's a good sign early on. And like Craig Duncanson said, it was a bit of a sloppy beginning, but he thought they had a good third period. And the goalie obviously also loved the last 20 minutes as they were able to defeat the Steelhead 6-2 finally by the end of it all. But the Wolves are back in action. You can check out on their website when they're back in action. I don't see it right now. But anyways, the last game they played was on Friday. We didn't talk about that because we didn't have a show until today. But they lost against Barrie 6-5, but they were down quite a bit most of the game. They tried to mount a third period comeback, but just fell short. So that win yesterday was really, as far as a team and momentum goes, was amazing because, you know, you lost the first game. You had a really great comeback. And if you would have lost the second game, it just would have been a real downer, you know, when you try so hard. But, you know, the fact that they got off to a bit of a lazy start and were able to come back and then win the next game, it was kind of like part of their comeback, I guess you can say, going right into the next game. Anyways, the Wolves head south this week for a big road trip that takes them to Windsor on Thursday and to Michigan for games in Flint on Saturday and Saginaw on Sunday. The new member of the CKLU broadcast team of the Sudbury Wolves, David Bowen, son of the legendary Joe Bowen, who also is from this area and got his start with the Sudbury Wolves as well, will be calling those road games. And so we're happy to have him aboard, and I'll make sure that those games stay on the air. I'll be taking care of that on Saturday and Sunday for the Sudbury Wolves broadcast here on CKLU 96.7 FM. Check out Sudbury Wolves for all the latest, SudburyWolves.com for all the latest on the team. Still sticking with sports-related news, we have a charitable event. November fundraiser pits Joe's versus the Sudbury Five. So it's Joe's versus the Pros is the basically the name of this event. Pros versus Joe's is a benefit basketball game that takes place at the Sudbury Arena with local citizens taking on the Sudbury Five. And I'm glad I was not asked, although I don't think I would have been asked. I'm glad I wasn't asked to be part of that team. If there's any sport that I think I'm probably not all that efficient, capable, whatever word you want to use, it is basketball. Even though I played school basketball, I never played high school basketball, but I played public school basketball. And we did rather okay. I just couldn't get a lot of the aspects of the game. I don't know why. Love to watch it. I'm a great fan of basketball, and I consider myself somewhat of an athlete, but don't know what it is about basketball. There is another one, bowling, and it's similar. For some reason, there's this little thing that goes on in my mind with just my hand when you're letting the ball go, whether it's a bowling ball or a basketball. I just seem to just something with my wrist while I'm executing the throw, whether it be, like I said, a bowling ball or a basketball, that sometimes if I can get over it in my mind and just not think about it and just be natural, I can do it. But there's always this thing that just, I don't know, my wrist just, I just do an extra little thing at the end. And so, in basketball, as a basketball player, it's accuracy. It comes from your whole body in the motion. And then it's your wrist is the last thing that the ball leaves and whatever. So anyways, I'm just not able to be consistent. And so glad I'm not taking part in that. Sudbury basketball fans are in for some fun and entertainment on November the 5th for the Pros versus Joes fundraiser at the Sudbury. And I might have said Joes versus Pros, but Pros versus Joes. Local marketing firm Social Rise Inc. is co-presenting the fundraiser by Athletic Therapy Plus and Tristan Ritchie Real Estate. Yeah, and that's the first that I heard that Tristan had his own real estate company. As far as I know, he was working with another one. So congratulations, I guess, on that, Tristan. And I know you're a great basketball fan. I know you're a collector of shoes. You've been on Sudbury Sports Talk before, and we had some really great chats. So congratulations to you on that. Connor LaRock of Social Rise, you might know him from the marketing firm. He also has a show on Eastlink TV. Said the event is in support of local children's charities, which includes the Neo Kids Children's Treatment Center and Health Sciences North and Northern Ontario Families of Children with Cancer, or NOFCC, the Sudbury Manitoulin Children Foundation, the Human League Association of Sudbury, and the United Way Centraid Northeast Ontario, all beneficiaries of this event. LaRock said that because of COVID-19 pandemic, there were many fundraising events that were canceled or delayed. He said the basketball game would be a great event for Sudbury on a Saturday night. LaRock said too many people have been stuck inside the house with limited options on what they could do for the community. Very true. He also said we're going to engage the whole city with a good vibe, with lots of good energy. It's entertainment, it's charity. So that goes ahead November the 5th. Brought to you by Social Rise and others. There's as of now 1,000 tickets already sold for this event, which I think is really great. It's already a month away, and they already have 1,000 tickets sold. So I'm not a salesperson for this. I'm not getting anything from it in any way, shape, or form. And they'll usually say, get your tickets before they're gone. But I think in this case, it might be true. LaRock said the event will also feature a highly entertaining halftime show that the crowd will appreciate. He added the event will bring the community together to help out the charities, showcase some talents, some excellent sports, and provide a good time for the spectators. Everybody wins. That's true. Who's going to win this game? Everybody, because everybody's going to win. All right, so that's a little bit of look at sports and what's going on in the community. In terms of sports, a little idea of anyways. There's lots of sports going on. And if you really want a comprehensive look at sports in the city, not only from Sudbury.com, the Sudbury Star, which do a great job in covering sports, but you'll find Randy Pascal with SudburySports.com. He, for years and years and years and years, has been covering sports in this community and is very passionate about it. And you wouldn't really want anyone else other than Randy out there doing that, just because he loves sports so much. But if you want to check out all his latest on what he's covering in local sports, high school, university, everything, all the little leagues, he covers everything. And anyone who's been involved in the sports community knows him, knows what he does. We've had him on the show. He did a segment with us each and every Friday on Sudbury Sports Talk. But we're looking at having him back whenever, because of COVID, we took a hiatus for a while. And I guess just things got busy and whatever. So, and Randy, if you're listening, all you got to do is give me a call or email, and I'll also reach out to you, get you back on the show to some extent, whether it's even just your podcast again and sharing pieces of it, or having you come on remotely like we've had so many guests coming on, and you be able to cover sports like nobody's business. We're also talking with Thomas Mercier to do a sports segment as well. So hopefully we can have these gentlemen coming on who are bona fide people in the community who have their finger on the pulse of sports and who aren't basically employed with any publication or media company at the moment. So they're able to do this. It's harder to get somebody who's already working for, let's say, Sudbury.com or Sudbury Star to be a full-time contributor to our show. Although I'm sure an interview here and there would probably be sufficient too. But yeah, we're going to have Randy from SudburySports.com come on and be able to give a lot better of a report than I'm able to do on the climate of sports here in this community. So we'll be back with something I am able to do, and that's talk about the news and unpack it. And there's a lot of really great stuff in terms of the election coming up that we're going to be covering to keep you as informed as possible. And so if you do want to chime in at any point in time to get your comments on, I won't be able to have them up on the screen, but I will be able to monitor them and share them as much as possible. We'll be back right after this. Yes, and news is always happening here in the city. It never stops, especially when we come off of weekends. There's an accumulation of news. But this weekend was a little different for me, I think. I don't think I shared a heck of a lot. I just thought a lot of the PR coming out from the candidates, I could have just shared each one of those. But I just figured that maybe it's just better to do an overview. I was about to share everybody's press releases as they shared them with the Sudbury.coms and Sudbury Stars of the world. But yeah, I just thought the mayoral debate was a thing to concentrate on this show, and rightfully so, because there's a lot of good stuff from it. But let's just talk about a few other things before we get to that. And this one just came out from CBC this morning about people dumping their garbage in places other than the dump. That's called the dump for reasons. It's where you're supposed to dump your garbage, but other people are just dumping just in parks, recreation areas. So headline here, Sudbury Park becomes dumping ground for bags and bags of household waste, from CBC News. It's really disgusting, and there's garbage. There's a garbage can not far from there. Like you can see it from the trail, and there's garbage. There's a garbage can right there, but people still throw it in the ditch. Yeah, I guess that's, it's been going on for as long as there's been garbage. Sudbury Park becomes dumping ground for bags and bags of household garbage. Bags and bags of household garbage been found along ditches at Langdon Park in the Valley East area in Sudbury. The garbage dumped at the park was found by Valley Baden-Powell Scouts during the semi-annual cleanup the group hosts. Scout leaders with the organization said, while the problem isn't new, it has worsened significantly. Gary DeZormo has been helping to lead cleanups for the past 3 years. He said the group suspects people are accumulating more garbage than the city's 2-bag pickup policy permits and aren't making the effort to get to the dump. But he said, it's not an excuse. I make the effort. I take my bag of garbage to the dump, my recycling. If there's too much, I go to the dump because it's a 10-minute drive from my house. I'm not going to throw it in the bush beside my house because, Many kids play there. My dogs play there. There's animals there. They don't need to be around the garbage, he said. Well, again, it's true. There's a dump and we can dump it there. It does cost money to go to the dump. I know they give you a little bit of a leeway, but if it's over a certain weight, and it's going to cost your time and money and efforts to go to the dump. But at the same time, regardless, like I'm not a fan of the 2-bag garbage thing myself. And every 2 weeks, where do you store it in the 2 weeks? I've never really been a fan of that. But I guess if the city are looking to cut costs and while cutting services, if I was able to see a return on that somehow, well, because we're cutting that, things are getting better to some extent, then I'd be able to go along with it. But it doesn't seem like anything really got better because they did that. I don't see. No one's told me what benefit we got or what got better because of that. So I'm not a fan of taking away services and then not replacing it with something better, I guess you can say. But Scott Sagan, who is running for councillor in Ward 6, also serves as a scout leader with the group. In a Facebook post, he said the group typically collects a total of 3 garbage bags during the cleanup. But this year, the group gathered about 10 bags within 1 hour at the park. The cleanup route typically begins at the park and covers about 1 kilometer along Martin Road. But this time, Sagan said, there was so much garbage collected in the first section of the route that the group had to return later to finish the exercise. So if again, I don't know the solution to this. The city, there's probably a direct correlation to the 2 garbage bag policy and the extra garbage. I'm just guessing. That's my guess, that there's a direct correlation to that. I don't know. It's not my decision to make. It was made. Another thing that's not my decision to make, but the decision was made, is a public hearing for rezoning a Minnow Lake development. Neighbors opposed to 179 unit Minnow Lake development. A public hearing for rezoning application affecting a proposed 179 unit residential development in Minnow Lake neighborhood will take place 1 p.m. today, October 3rd. Where, you might ask, if that's affecting you, and where could you go for this particular public hearing? We'll have to see. So, a public hearing for the project was scheduled to take place last week's planning meeting, but Councillor Bill Leduc of Ward 11 successfully petitioned to have it deferred to October 3rd so more area residents could be notified about it in advance. The item was previously deferred at the June 27 planning committee meeting, and the city's policy doesn't require deferrals to be re-advertised via mail-outs, which Leduc has pledged to hand deliver in advance of today's meeting. So if that's something that does affect you, you should know where it is, because you would have got a hand-delivered invitation by Councillor Leduc in your mailbox or wherever you receive your mail. Leduc had requested the matter be deferred later, so the City Council elected on October 24th would deal with it. But the applicant's agent, Kevin Giroux of Tulloch Engineering, said delaying it would further make the likelihood of construction taking place next year minimal at best. Yes, welcome to the city of Greater Sudbury and trying to build things. In a letter provided to the committee, area resident Josh Badger argues the 5-story buildings being proposed would be vertically impactful, quote unquote, to sight lines, and the area roadways cannot support the additional traffic. In this letter, Resident David Fiaccioni, sorry about the pronunciation if I didn't get that right, laments the quote-unquote disheartening effects of infilling that have resulted in several years of heavy construction and the equipment that comes as a result. Please take into consideration that a proposal of this magnitude will surely take a little more than a year to build, he wrote. The constant pounding of my home and that of our entire neighborhood will continue. So yeah, construction, the sounds of construction will be going on and on and on in your neighborhood, for sure. But we do need housing in the city. Where are they going to build it? There's going to be sounds of construction no matter where you build housing. And so there is a housing shortage. Rents are through the roof, and a lot of people don't have a place to live. And when are we going to build this housing? Where is it going to go? Yeah. So the meeting will take place today, 1 p.m. You can attend by attending the Council Chambers, Tom Davies Square, right downtown, 200 Brady Street. You can submit comments in writing to the city, and they give you the email address or the snail mail address. So you would have had to have your comments in by September 30th in order to have them heard by council. And you could have registered to speak as well by September 30th. Greater Sudbury online. So it looks like everything's all ready to go. Anyone who would have had their recommendations in or whatever, or their thoughts, should have already had them in by September 30th for that particular issue. And Andrew James is a little bit fed up or whatever too, losing patience. He says, what don't they oppose? First the kid, now the old abandoned school to be turned into homes. Life is about progress. Deal with it. Let's see if we can get 2 replies here. And then Marco Rocca said, my neighborhood did not oppose the kid. And Carol says the traffic will be a problem. So yeah, now that's the thing for growth and expansion and moving forward. Yeah, there is more traffic, and you have to make those infrastructure updates to allow for that. But that is growth. In order to have housing, you got to put it somewhere. And I do believe I shared a story here about the Valley getting a. I thought I shared it. That the Valley has a project that's been green lighted to go ahead for housing. And so it's odd that that's odd that I don't see it there. Maybe I, by accident, shared it to another page. You never know. There you go. So let's move along here. Laurentian asking courts to unseal documents kept secret during the CCAA. That's definitely important. We'll be covering that coming up here. But first, I just wanted to go into how do the mayors, and sorry if anyone gets motion sickness from me going through the Facebook page, but anyways, election issues, mayoral candidates weigh in on arena question. So if anyone's wondering what the mayoral candidates believe about the arena, here's your opportunity. This was a questionnaire given by Sudbury.com to the candidates for mayor. The question was, the consensus is that Greater Sudbury needs a new arena, event center, or a refurbished and upgraded downtown arena. With the kid dead, what is the best solution to the city's arena situation, and how should it be achieved? So let's go through what the mayoral candidates are basically saying about this. So Brian Bigger says at the last council meeting, staff was directed to generate a report for the new council to ensure it has all the most up-to-date and accurate information. I think the city definitely needs a new or renewed event center. It's something we have identified as a need for the last number of years. Yeah, for sure. As an avid concert and hockey goer, as many of the people in Greater City Sudbury are, we need to ensure that we have this new offering for our citizens. Council made the decision it did as costs escalated due to the pandemic and other factors. This would have meant a 3% increase on everyone's taxes if we had borrowed the extra $100 million needed to construct the KED. In the parentheses, and that was based on the lowest cost estimate. I don't think anyone wants to take on that risk. As you recall, I was in favor of the downtown for a location at the beginning of this process. I would like to get council together at the start of the new term, discuss what the priorities are, which includes a strategic plan for the council. This will help us decide how to proceed with an event center in the future. The new council will decide what the most appropriate decision is, and I'm looking forward to that discussion with them. So basically that's if he gets elected, right? But the wording he's using is very optimistic. He's assuming that he's going to be reelected, and I don't blame him for having that type of language. If I was if I was the incumbent, I'd speak the same way, but I don't know if he's should feel all that secure in his position for reelection, from what I'm hearing. Evelyn Dutrazek, former councillor now running for mayor, said when meeting and listening to the residents during the campaign, the citizens are so very concerned with the high cost of living, the high taxes, the terrible roads, infrastructure deficit, the opioid and homeless situation, lack of affordable housing, and on and on. When the economy turns and the city budget is under control, so taxpayers are not hit up every year with inflated tax increases, a real plan can occur if council so desires after public input. The talk of the arena needs a break. So that's what Evelyn Dutrazak feels, that enough talking about this arena thing, need a break from it. We need to regroup and remove emotions embedded in the Kingsway Entertainment District. A design comes first based on public need and input. A design was never done for the KED, which is true. She does a good point there. Maybe at this stage, renovation of the Sudbury Arena with possible extension will surface. The purpose has to be open, transparent, and driven by council and the public. I fully support the Ontario Hockey League team in Greater Sudbury, restoring the citizens' trust and confidence in our city's municipal government. Yeah, that's a definite plus. The system is basically restoring confidence in our city's municipal government system, is restoring the citizens' trust. Trust in the system is paramount for the success of the newly elected mayor and council. This is what I stand for. So those are very, long positions by these candidates and incumbent. But Don Gravel seems to just kind of give a more bite-sized approach. The best way to deal with the arena is to have a new council, each have their own town hall in their ward. Each brings back the best ideas to council meeting. Council chooses the top 5. Then we let the people decide by a referendum. Interesting idea. That's Don Gravel. Bob Johnston never answered the question. Devin LeBranche says the best solution for either a new arena or refurbished of the current one is to explore all options. I believe the negotiations are due with private investors to find a mutually acceptable solution so that will lead to both revenues and something that people of Sudbury can be excited about. I would like to see a new arena constructed, and hopefully we can put something together. Mind you, in the event that we cannot come to agreement, I wouldn't be opposed to the refurbishment of the present arena. Whichever is the case, I would like to see construction on the refurbishment commence within the year. So that was from Devin LeBranche. Paul LeFive, in the end, The KED would have cost taxpayers $80 million in infrastructure, roads, intersections, parking. However, we approach the need for a new or renovated arena. We must ensure it goes where infrastructure is already in place to support it. And we need to find synergies and partners to bring the cost to taxpayers down and bring a better return on our investment. So basically, without saying it, he's saying he believes the event center needs to go downtown because it needs to go wherever infrastructure is already in place. So if you read between the lines, that's pretty much downtown, other than if it goes somewhere else where the infrastructure is already in place. There's very few places that's the case. Oh, so Julia also believes to take a break. We haven't stalled this for long enough. I sense a little bit of sarcasm there. So David Popescu, a very polarizing individual for many reasons, didn't comment either. Miranda Rocca Turcelli, before a decision can be made on whether to build new or renovate, the present state of the city's finances and costs of operation needs to be determined. That's why I've called for a forensic audit, which will answer those questions. Once we know what our financial position is and what, if any, efficiencies can be achieved, we'll have the necessary information to make an informed decision on what we can afford, new or renovated. Mila Wong, no relation to our former mayor, as she specified in a press release earlier, I will review data and information on the condition of the Sudbury Arena and study what North Bay has done with their similar situation. I do not support new projects or builds. Many of us do not know the factual financial status of Greater Sudbury. Hence, we need that independent forensic audit done by the provincial government. So it sounds like Rocca Turcelli and Wong are on the same page in terms of an audit for the city, and maybe not exactly on the same page as what to do for for the arena per se, but definitely looking at the finances. And that's what was a big part of the mayor's debate that took place on Saturday. But Brian Bigger got the headline of him being a little bit negative and saying, "How does anyone else know how to do a budget in this place? I'm the only one who's done a city budget." So, well, that's because you were mayor. So of course you're going to be the only one who's done a city budget. But anyways, that's just me. Bigger throws barbs at rivals during the CARP debate. Pretty much everybody here has never attended a council meeting, he said during the event, also challenging 3 fellow candidates to come up with their Greater Sudbury 22 operating budget. Incumbent Brian Bigger threw a few barbs at the candidates, hoping to replace him as the mayor of Greater City of Sudbury at the debate. During a section in which candidates were invited to share their ideas on public meetings and communicating with the public, Bigger said his political rivals seem to be promising things that are already in place. He said, "I can tell you that it's all on the city website. It's all in the media, if you're paying attention. And pretty much everybody here has never attended a council meeting. I've never seen most of the candidates in any council meeting, and, they're just kind of tuned in to what's happening in council in the last month." That comment incited some boos from the crowd, as you can imagine. The Saturday mayoral debate hosted by the Sudbury chapter of the Canadian Association of Retired Persons, or CARP, was attended by well over 100 people, with some not even able to snag a chair at the older adult venue. 8 of the 9 candidates running for mayor participated: Bigger, Evelyn Dutrazac, Don Gravel, Bob Johnston, Devin LaBranche, Paul Lefebvre, Miranda Roccatricelli, and Mila Wong. The ninth candidate, David Popescu, he's a convicted purveyor of hate speech that Sudbury.com put into the article there, did not take part, although he was invited, and a card with his name was up at the table along with those other candidates. The debate, moderated by retired broadcaster and supporter of CKLU on our pledge week, he'll come in and do a show usually, and he's just a great guy, and former CBC morning host and former CTV anchor here in Sudbury. I used to wake up to him on CBC every morning. Loved waking up to his show. He was my alarm, basically. So, and it was at a great time of my life when lots of things were going well for me, and so I just remember that. But anyways, he was the moderator. He dealt with many of the hot topics of that day, Greater Sudbury, including the failed KED project, which we just talked about, and the yet-to-be-built Junction East project, which we do talk about at length on this show, as you know. What to do with some of the community, Sudbury Community Arena, which I guess is tied in some respects with the KED. Homelessness, huge issue, right? The defunct St. Joseph's Hospital property, the old General Hospital there, sitting there all painted up. Dysfunction with council and the mayor's salary. The need for an audit and more. So look at all these topics. And again, Natalie Labby was nice enough to share with me the link for the debate, and I'm going to see if I can be technically savvy enough to share that on our Sudbury News page, so that way if you didn't get a chance to see it in its entirety, and you actually are interested in who's running for mayor and what they have to say, what they stand for, and if they actually will represent your views and your values, then make sure to check out our Sudbury Facebook page today, and I'm going to be trying to share that. But thanks to Natalie, who's running for Ward 7, for sharing that with us. During the event, Bigger also handed out pieces of paper with 3 of the rival candidates. And this is interesting. He only handed out pieces of paper to 3 candidates. And I thought this was interesting because I think it shows who he believes are his 3 biggest opponents in this election. So the 3 were Evelyn Dutrasac, Paula Five, and Miranda Roccatricelli. Now, I'm not downplaying the other candidates by any way, shape, or form here by saying that. I just want to make myself clear. I just think Brian Bigger only handed the piece of paper to 3 of them to say, hey, why don't you write down Greater Sudbury's operating budget for 2022, probably smugly. If you would follow the budget process, if you had any interest in being there, you probably would know how the budget is, how big the budget is, he said. So I guess he wasn't expecting this, but Miranda Roccatricelli immediately wrote down the figure $661 million, which Bigger confirmed to be the right answer. Oh my goodness, that's just, I got to go back and watch that just because he wanted to make a point that none of them knew what the budget was. And Roccatricelli right away wrote it down. My point is, he says, is that you're asking people to be mayor. I've been creating and leading budgets in the municipal environment since 2001. As Miles pointed out, that he was the auditor for the city before he was mayor. If you follow the process, you will see there is a line-by-line review, he added, responding to several candidates who are calling for audits of the Greater Sudbury's books. And one point, Bigger added, even threw some shade at the actions of former Mayor Jim Gordon, who was in attendance. Wong said Gordon, quote unquote, held the line on taxes for years and years. One of the horrible things is that, this is Bigger saying, one of the things that is a horrible idea that I've heard is 0 tax increases. We had 0 tax increases for over a decade. At that point, a man called out from the audience, "You did it," meaning that Brian Bigger did it. And Jim Gordon did that. Then the member of the audience then said, well, you did it the first year, presumably referring to the election promise that Bigger made in 2014. So it just sounds like it was a very interesting time where the audience is getting involved and calling out Bigger on some of the things that he was saying. We've been investing significantly more money in capital and fixing the roads than any other previous council. And we've been following long-term plans and strategies, Bigger added. A decade of no tax increase, you're stealing money from capital projects and not fixing roads. During his closing remarks, Bigger also said there are few candidates running for mayor. They're, I guess, the top runners. They own businesses. They think this is a part-time job. It's not. It's a full-time job. Then Rocca Tricelli gave a little quiz of her own during the event. I'd like to ask the candidates if they're aware of what percentage of the budget is allocated to salaries, she said. That's what we talked about on Sudbury News Talk all of last week, pretty much, when we found that out. Do we have a little Jeopardy tone? No? Brian, do you want to answer my question about the percent of the budget that's allocated to salaries? Bigger began to answer the question, but then hesitated. And then someone shouted out from the crowd, 43%. Thank you, 43%, about 289 million, Rocca Tricelli said, adding that she's asking for an audit of the Greater Sudbury's books. We have all these numbers, we have all this money, but where is it going? And why is it going to the places that it is, she said. As part of the section of the debate dealing with the homelessness of the downtown core, Bob Johnston, and rightfully so, an advocate for the city's vulnerable population, had some harsh words for the city's response to these issues during the pandemic. Quote, for 2 years, in 2020 and 2021, no mayor, no council except for two, on the streets with me and my girlfriend, saving lives, dealing with the homeless, he said. He went on to say, we'd even opened up a store because they never even showered or changed their clothes in 6 weeks. I'm tired of the excuses of this city. Bigger said during the earlier part of the pandemic, support services for the city vulnerable population that there are funded by the province. So I got to go back here. Bigger said during the earlier part of the pandemic, support services for the city's vulnerable population that are funded by the province were unable to operate. We opened a warming center in City Hall at Tom Davies Square, he said. Who could imagine that situation? Lefebvre, who is Sudbury's past Liberal MPP, mostly stayed positive in his comments, but did share his concern about what happened with the now defunct KED project. He said, what I don't want is for us to waste more money as we did on the KED. Although he did say he was in favor of the city's big projects. So that would be, he is in favor of Junction East, other big projects. Again, he's in politics before, right? So he says you need to build an arena where the infrastructure already is. He doesn't say, I want it downtown. Right here he says, we don't want to waste money on the KED, but I am in favor of other cities' big projects. So instead of saying I am in favor of the controversial Junction East, he doesn't say that. He just says I'm in favor of the big projects. We need to know what the operating costs are of these projects and what they're going to be. It's as if you're operating a business and you say, I'm going to build it, but I'm not sure how much it's going to cost me, which I give him that. That's what we talked about too on this show. It's almost like they're listening to the show. It needs to be run like a business. But I do appreciate that. And it goes on. So that's pretty much the coverage from Sudbury.com. And that's all the time we have today for the show. Time just seems to get away. And I thank you for bearing with me this whole show, everyone. When I'm doing it solo, I appreciate it. It's probably a little bit dry. But thanks for listening on CKLU. Thanks for joining us on Facebook and YouTube Live. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow with possibly 2 co-hosts. So it'll be 3 of us. So it'll be the opposite of today. It'll be a lot of conversation. And hopefully by then I'll have the comments back up on the screen. We'll solve that problem. And so stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great one, everyone, and ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.